The fallacy of scale. That's what we're talking about today. And we're also going to talk about getting to profit and how scale, profit, and the fallacy of scale all intersect one another. We need to go back to 2022. I had just given a talk on coffee roastery operations at Coffee Fest in Chicago, and Christopher from Keys to the Shop had asked me to be interviewed on the floor. He was doing live interviews on the floor, and it was my first podcast I'd ever been on. I was so excited and very nervous, and I had just come from speaking to 30 roasters, and so I had all this excited energy. So if you go back and listen to it, you can hear that in my voice. But we were talking about my background and just the usual intro conversation for a podcast. And then he asked me a question around, why do roasters, really coffee businesses in general, feel the need to always grow, to always be scaling? And as I was answering the question, I used a phrase that I still use today, and it's that there's a fallacy of scale. And the fallacy of scale is that if we grow, all of our problems get solved. And it's simply not true. Sure, some of your problems could be solved, and scale can be a beneficial thing, but scale alone doesn't necessarily guarantee that all of your problems and challenges will be solved, especially related to finances. In fact, they oftentimes increase your challenges, especially related to money. So let's put some real practical numbers around this. Let's say that you did $1.2 million a year in sales, but every month you were about $10,000 short. So at the end of the year, you were $120,000 short. Now, let's say that you 10x'd your entire company, meaning your payroll 10x'd, your COGS 10x'd, your green coffee 10x'd, your rent 10x'd, your total sales 10x'd. So now you're doing $12 million a year in total sales. But if you didn't solve the underlying cash flow problem of I'm short $10,000 a month, when you 10x that, now you're short $100,000 a month. And at the end of the year, you're short $1.2 million. Now, if we solve that issue, and let's say that you're profitable and making money at $1.2 million a year, as you scale and as you grow, you're more likely to follow that same profitable trajectory. And so this is the conversation around the fallacy of scale, is that just growing without solving any underlying issues and developing sophisticated, thoughtful, strong business practices, that's not going to give you a solid business at the end of the year. So this is the fallacy of scale, is that scale at all costs is going to solve all of your problems. It actually won't. It will, in fact, multiply them. Yes, scale does provide you with more buying power. It does give you more flexibility. You have more opportunities to drive down your total costs. So there's certainly advantages to scale. And that's why I'm not saying that scale is a bad thing. Scale is not a bad thing. The fallacy is that scale will save you from all of your underlying inefficiencies and challenges that you have today. Getting to profit is like kinetic energy, meaning if you're profitable today, it's easier for you to be profitable in the future. And if you're not profitable today, it's more likely that you're going to continue to be losing money into the future. Now, I do understand that there's a conversation and a strategy around you're going to have to lose some money for a while until you get to a scale where now your numbers make sense. But unfortunately, what I come across too often is that owners don't actually know where that number is, what that dollar amount is, what that volume is. And so they think that, well, we just need to continue to grow. And if we continue to grow, then our problems will be solved. It can solve some problems, but if you don't solve the underlying issue of profitability or lack of efficiency or organizational structure that doesn't make sense, or perhaps operational challenges, if you aren't solving for those, if you grow, you actually increase the number of challenges you have to solve for, which creates more headaches, creates more challenges. If you're not profitable, it makes it even more difficult to stay alive, because now you have to come up with, instead of $10,000 a month, you have to come up with $100,000 a month. This is the fallacy of scale we're talking about. We didn't solve the underlying issue of we don't have our pricing set correctly and we lose money on every pound of coffee that we sell. When we grow to $12 million from $1.2 million, we still have the same problem. We're losing money. See, profitability is like kinetic energy. And if you're profitable today, it's likely that you're going to continue to be profitable in the future. And if you're not profitable today, it's likely that you're going to continue to not be profitable into the future. This is why it's really important for your margins to be in your favor, so that as you grow, you can maintain profitability as your business scales. Now, you have to understand, there's nothing wrong with scale. There's nothing wrong with it. Scale can be a good thing, can increase your buying power, can give you more options, it can give you more exposure. There's a lot of good things that can come from scale, but it won't solve all of your problems, especially the underlying cash flow problems that a roaster might have if they don't solve the profitability challenges. So what do we do here? What is the response to this? Well, oftentimes when you're in a situation like this, and I've been here too, so don't hear me speaking from an ivory tower. I've been there. You go out to a cafe and you pull a napkin from the condiment bar and you sit down and you do the napkin math. And what happens? Every single time the scale play works in theory. But then when you put it into practice, if your margins aren't in your favor, it doesn't work out for you. And why is this? It's because if you just are seeking scale, if you're just like, well, we need to increase their total pounds sold or increase our top line, and you're not solving the underlying cash flow issue, you're going to grow. Yes, you're going to increase whatever metric you're looking at, but then your costs associated with that are going to grow in tandem, in lockstep with this growth. And yes, there is an opportunity with a certain amount of scale to where that tips, of course. But oftentimes it's like kinetic energy, where it's going to follow the same trajectory that it's already on, and it's going to stay in motion in the same way that it has been in motion. So the scale play always works on paper. It just does. It literally, I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. The scale play always works. So what do we do with it today? What's a practical thing that we can do today? I've outlined a few steps of profitability, and there's 3 of them. So the first one is that we need to acknowledge it. Okay, understood. I realize that I'm not profitable today, and how I'm pricing my products are not profitable. Understood. We're not going to beat ourselves up. We're not going to create a bunch of shame. We're just going to acknowledge it as a data point. So as a data point, what's next? Number 2, we're going to evaluate all of the products that we serve and sell. Okay. Which ones of these items are actually making us money? Which ones are losing us money? And if we come across items that we lose money on, whether wholesale or retail, we're going to stop, and we're going to have to make a decision. We have 3 options. Number 1, we sell through the current stock at the current price and we discontinue it. We just say, you know what, this is going to be a loss, and that's what it is. Option number 2, we increase the sale price of this item to break even, and then we discontinue it. So we don't lose any more money from this point forward, but then we're done selling this product. Option number 3, we increase this product to a reasonable profit, and then we continue selling this at this new price. Those are really your 3 options when you come across losers. The final step is to determine within yourself that we're no longer going to add items that lose us money. We are not going to add items to our lineup that lose us money, period. We're not doing it. Now, I know you're thinking, but loss leaders, they help us make more money. Yes, agreed, aligned, understood. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about how are we going to get to profit? How do we protect ourselves from adding products that contribute to our cash flow issues? We need to make sure that everything that we're selling makes us money. Once we get there, now we can start to consider a couple of things. Now we can start thinking about scale. So scale is one of those things. The second thing is loss leaders, but only after we are sitting comfortably over a long period of time in profit. So that's the fallacy of scale, a little bit about profitability. and the steps of profitability. Next time, we're going to talk about what should your margin be, and we're going to talk a little bit about debt as well. As always, be well.